Conversion therapy. The government promised to ban it back in 2018. I interviewed Theresa May at the time, and she said they were absolutely going to ban it. It was a big exclusive announcement. She was very excited about it. The government was very excited about it. This was how they were going to take their pro-LGBT policies forward after equal marriage, for example. This was the government shaping the way that it was going to treat LGBT communities as a forward-facing government. And then, what will be now 5 years on, still no ban, because actually what ended up happening was it got completely drawn into the weeds of this culture war that's being waged, where the government is sort of dancing on a pinhead, trying to decide, does it actually want to ban conversion therapy or not, particularly when trans conversion therapy is a part of that equation. So for anyone who doesn't already know, conversion therapy is this sort of bogus attempt to try and change someone's sexuality or their gender identity. Sexuality less controversial. Gender identity, of course, at the moment is a hotly debated topic, and that has become the more controversial element of the ban. But I was told about a month ago the ban was sitting in Rishi Sunak's red box, nicely designed, ready to go, not without its controversy. Some people felt that the ban, as it's currently drafted, doesn't go far enough, etc., etc., etc. But nevertheless, why haven't we seen it yet? It's been in the red box for a month. Let's talk to Jayne now, who's a former government advisor on LGBT issues, director of the Jayne Foundation, and also a chair of the Ban Conversion Therapy Coalition. Good morning, Jayne.
Good morning, Paul.
So, where is the ban?
Well, your guess is as good as mine, and one has to conclude that either the Prime Minister doesn't think this is important, i.e. he doesn't think that lives are being damaged, traumatised, and in some cases even lost because of conversion practices, or he is being lobbied by those who want to continue with these abusive practices, i.e. religious parts of the religious spectrum, who want to carry on praying the gay away. And that's despite, if you like, the Church of England, the Methodist Church, the Quakers, the Buddhists, the Hindus, you name it, coming out and saying we need a ban because we know this happens, and we know that we need a very clear line to say this is unacceptable in the 21st century.
And the reason I wanted to talk about this morning is because there's only a week left now before MPs go off on recess and government business winds down. And the government had been talking about getting a ban, a draft bill outlining a ban, getting that out ASAP. We keep being told it's imminent. We thought it would come before the summer recess, but I don't reckon it's going to come this week now, do you?
I can't see how it can, Paul. Their focus is on the by-elections and pushing, the 5 pledges. We've been told, as you rightly say, since January that it was going to be published very shortly, and that was a Secretary of State at the dispatch box. And I think if it was going to come out, it would have come out last week. Yes, there are 4 days left. Who knows? But I doubt it very much. Another broken promise, another indication that the Prime Minister is willing to throw the LGBT community under the bus and not give us the protections that we so desperately need.
I reported a couple of weeks ago on the shape of the ban that was in the Prime Minister's red box, and there is some concern that it might potentially contain, for example, a consent clause, so people will still be allowed to consent to conversion therapy, and they will only ban conversion therapy which is coercive. Given those kind of concerns, do you think there are some campaigners now who would rather wait for a Labour government, if that's what we are about to get in the next election, for a Labour government to come in and implement a far more wide-reaching ban, rather than have this sort of fudge of a ban implemented by a Conservative government?
Well, it's a good question, Paul. I myself consented, and it nearly killed me. I mean, we've got international lawyers telling the government very clearly you cannot have a consent loophole. But having spoken to Labour, having spoken to the Lib Dems and the SNP, they're all clear that they want to ban a comprehensive ban with no loopholes, and they have given commitments that they would amend any legislation that the Tories brought forward. So I'm still in the camp that says I'd like this as soon as possible. Every day that we delay puts more lives at risk. I've got assurances, and I know there are many Tories actually who would vote to ensure that this was a fully comprehensive ban. But you're right, Labour have been very clear that they would bring in, as a matter of urgency, a fully comprehensive ban, and maybe the easiest thing would be to wait. But, I just don't think people understand this is putting lives at risk right now. I get contacted almost daily by people who are in really difficult situations, who are being faced by this. And if the government truly believed that this was important, they would have done it years ago when the Church of England and others called for it. I just don't think they care, or they get that this is something that really is impacting lives, or if they are, they think we're perhaps dispensable lives. At least I know the opposition, and I'm cross-party. You know, I don't belong to any political party, but I'm very glad to know that there are many other parties who do get how important this is.
Well, I can see the Equalities Minister, Kemi Badenoch, is out and about this morning talking about the latest trade deal that she's done as in her dual role as also International Trade Minister, Trade Secretary rather. So perhaps she'll be asked about all of this, and we can get some kind of clarity from her about whether it'll be this week or not.
I do hope so. You may remember it's because of what she said in a debate on conversion therapy that I resigned, not only from the advisory panel, but also from the Tory party. I was so concerned about her lack of understanding, about her rhetoric around this. And sadly, she's been imposed as Equalities Minister, or now Secretary of State for Women and Equalities, since that time. And one has to question, why hasn't she engaged more with survivors? Why hasn't she sat down and listened to those of us who've been through this? Why hasn't she learnt from the international community who've banned this? We've seen New Zealand, Australia, India, Brazil. Brazil did it in 1999. That we've got so many countries we could learn from on all these tricky questions. Why hasn't she done any of that? And that, to me, signals because she doesn't think it's important, and she doesn't want to do it because she believes that we should continue to pray the gay away.
Okay. Jayne Ozanne, Equalities campaigner, thanks so much for joining me this morning. That was Jayne there talking about the delay to the conversion therapy ban.